Padma's having her breakfast. She eats twice a week, Wednesdays and Sundays, stuffing her mouth. Good morning out there. Say hello. Greet me with a heart or a hi. It's good to know I'm talking to people who are engaging and responsive. Hi, Anya. Always a pleasure to see you. Thank you. Thank you for the love. Tag Tribes out there. I know Anya's from Tag Tribes. It's always good to know my tribe members are out there. So happy. Ooh, pretty hearts. Thank you. Listen, guys, this is another quick scope by me. I'm on my way out. I have an appointment, but I really wanted to finish the discussion I was having. Yes, woohoo, Tag Tribes. I wanted to finish the discussion a little bit from what I was talking about last. Hello, Josette. Thank you for joining. Last night, I was talking about my story is better than yours, and this whole thing we do with comparing our stories and judging each other on our stories, and how sharing our stories can be very helpful, but also when we start comparing and judging, it can be very harmful. And we were having this discussion on Twitter Monday night, and I was pondering this and trying to figure out, why would people, it is ridiculous. Why do we do that? Especially when it's been something when, you've gone through some trauma in your life. And it dawned on me, it was this whole victim mentality. So we tend to get stuck in our story and we become a victim of it. And so we're walking around it. So I want to talk a little bit about the victim mentality, because I believe that there are some people that are walking around with a victim mentality and don't even realize it and what they're doing to themselves. So basically what you're doing is you're acting as if what had happened to you is still happening. Okay, it's still very raw in your life, and you're staying in the pain. You're constantly staying in the pain all the time, and that's all you talk about. And I don't know if you know people like this, but they're always talking about what happened to them and how tragic it was, and how much that person hurt them. Every time you see them, they're dredging it up, and you've been there before and you've tried to help them. And every time you make a suggestion, they say, yeah, but there's always this but. There is nothing that you can tell them to help them get out of that story. And there is this perpetual cycle that they're on. They're always cycling this thing. They're not only cycling it and telling the story, but they're cycling the negative thoughts. They're in the replaying of the story of, well, what if this had happened? And what if that had happened? And they keep going back. And listen, I'm telling you, because that's where I was. I know that. I was so much in my head and what had happened to me that I kept replaying the story in so many different ways and showing it to myself in so many different scenarios. And when you get like that, you are not giving off any good energy. People do not want to be around you. And it's hard for people to help you. In the 3 stages that I talk about, when you're a victim, then you're a survivor, then you're a thriver. The victim mentality is one of the hardest to move from. Because what I have found and what I have seen is that for some, and I'm talking about women here. I'm talking to women, okay? What we do, hi, Uplifting Works, thank you for joining. What we tend to do is, as women, we love to hover around one another when we want to protect women and children. So we hover around them. We want to bring them in our circle. We want to care for them and take care of them. But what we also have a tendency to do as well is enable them. instead of empower them. And so that hovering around in that community, yeah, you want them to be safe. You know, they're probably fragile, but what's happened, they're vulnerable. But at the same time, we treat them like a wounded puppy for such a long time that they don't know what it feels like to stand up. So we can help them to their feet, but then we have to let them start to do the walking. So the victim mentality is that person that stays on the crutches or stays limping, and they're constantly in that story for months and years to come. Now, what I know about the healing process is that you can't force it. Okay, it's nothing that can be forced, and everyone is going to have a different time frame and a different process. But what I've said before in one of my videos about when the healing begins is that it's when you make that decision. So you have got to make that decision that I am no one's victim. It is yours to make, and it is a decision that's got to be made every single day. It's just not a one-time thing, because it is going to be hard for you as you're thinking about all of the things. That's right. Amen. All of the things that have happened to you, it's going to keep coming up. And you know, the thing about the story that you're telling, that story is a trigger. It's a constant trigger for you. It's not just, like for me, I could walk around town and there would be things that I would hear, or there would be something I would see, or a song, and those things would sort of trigger some emotions in you. But what you don't realize is that story is doing the same thing. And you keep telling the story, and it's not giving you anything to move forward on. So what I want you to start thinking about, if you believe that you are holding on to a victim mentality, or you know someone that is, one thing you don't want to do with someone that is to keep listening to the story. Okay? You want to be able to stop them and let them know you are not going to engage in their pain anymore. That's right. Choose to no longer be addicted to all of that. Exactly. Because it does become addicted. And what happens is we continue the work that the abuser has begun in our life. We continue that, and we become addicted to it's like a self-abuse. And I hate to see women there. And what that does is that continues in our lives in other areas, and we end up self-sabotaging ourselves in so many different ways. That's right. So, and you know what I'm talking about, don't you? Exactly. So we don't want to do that. And, one of the things I talk about a lot is I talk about self-healing, self-love, and self-care. You've got to start loving yourself first. It's got to start with you. And when you can start doing that, then you can step back. Yes, then you can step back. It is important, because I've seen too many women, Anya, that are living in their pain, and they're living in that story that happened to them years ago, and they can't sing. Hey, Matt, thank you for joining. You guys should follow Matt Champagne. Makes great drinks. So they're living in this pain, and then they're pulling people in with them. Thank you for joining today. So a couple of things that I would tell you to start to do is to start to take responsibility. Look, this is your life, and this is your choice and your decision. That's right. Yeah, they are trapped, and it's sad to see that, and I feel that as women, we love to help each other. We want to be there to support each other, but we've got to do it in a way that is empowering. We've got to do it in a way that's really going to lift that woman up, because hi, Miss Fabulous. Thank you for joining. We've got to do it in a way that's going to be beneficial to her children, to our communities. When I look at abuse and I look at things like this, I don't look at it as it's just in that family. It's so much bigger than that. It affects our communities. It affects society. And so when we see women that are stuck in that pain, it continues some sort of a cycle in their lives with the people that they continue to date and the people that they continue to be around and the things that they do. And yeah. Well, I'm getting ready to wrap up soon, but I'm so glad that you joined. Thank you so much. And you guys should follow Miss Fabulous too. So anyway, take responsibility and be disciplined and intentional. Now, being disciplined and intentional, one of the things, and Anya talks about this, is that meditation was one of the first things that I had to do to get myself out of that pit. And that is not an easy thing when you're stuck in your head. When you're going through that story and you're going through the pain, and exactly, it's generational and it's a pattern that starts. And I can look back and I can see, where it started with me. And that's one of the things. So when you do the meditation, what happens, it's self-reflecting. And it takes you away from just looking at what happens to you. That's right. Someone has to choose to break the cycle. So you have to make that decision to do that. And in doing that, one of the things I say is just quiet your time, quiet your mind, sit down, sit in your pain, face your demons, face your mistakes, face all of it. And you know what? And that is so true. You know what? I could not even open the Bible, Miss Fabulous. I was in so much pain that I could not open the Bible. I had to sit and just let God speak to me in that quiet time until I got to the point where I could look at the scripture. So that's how wounded I was. And that's a whole other scope in going there. But I had to just start with just quieting my mind and just facing my mistakes, facing my demons, facing the pain, even if that meant crying during my meditation. But every day that I did it, like I said, I was disciplined about doing it. Every day I did it, a little light, a little bit more light, little shifts, just little things happening one step at a time. And then I was able to sort of rise up from where I was and move out. Yes, that's right. That's right. Thank God for freedom from a burden of mind. That's right. Most definitely. And God was able to, deal with me one-on-one, just like that, and help me rise up from where I was. So be disciplined, be intentional, and be courageous. And I know it when you have so much fear, when you have been abused, when you have gone through trauma, you live just fearful of everything. I lived for 1.5 years in constant fear of what he would do next, what would happen next, what's going to happen to my life. I know how that feels, but I had to find some way to find the courage within me to walk forward and face it despite the fear and the pain. It's not easy. No one's going to do it for you, but it's something that needs to be done. So I'm going to have to wrap up here, but listen, you got to reclaim your life. You've got to reclaim it. This is the first step. And when you start and you can move from here and move into the next step of survive. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really do. I want this to bless women because I know there are a lot of women that need to hear this. And, I know because I've been there. So reclaim your life. And know that you just have to change the story, change what you're saying, change what you're thinking, and you're going to see that shift start to happen. And before you know it, you'll be sitting up with your back straight, you'll be walking a little faster, and you'll have a smile on your face. So thank you all for joining me this morning. And listen, go out and change the world today. Bye-bye. I'll see you later. Bye. Thank you.